Hello to you joining, and hello to you replay viewers. I appreciate you joining in. We've got some amazing stuff happening on the sun this morning, and actually just the other day, and it's going to be bringing us a new solar storm, which I'm really thrilled to be able to talk about because it was an absolutely gorgeous eruption. And I will talk about the coming solar storm. I'm going to talk a little bit about what is going on with the sun in terms of other active regions and what we can expect for you GPS operators, you ham radio operators, and just for you aurora enthusiasts and all that kind of stuff. So bear with me. I'm also going to mention right away, thank you so much. There's been so much of an outpouring of love for me. I don't know if you can tell my eyes and my face are a little bit kind of puffy. It's because I've been very, very bereaved. I lost a really good friend just a few days ago. And I loved her very much. And she was a high school friend of mine. And I posted on Twitter a few days ago and mentioned that. And you guys have been just so overwhelmingly wonderful. I'll just scroll down through just some of the replies I've gotten. And Terry and Cesrat, Aurora Addict, Catherine Mack, Ron, Weather Watch, Alistair. I mean, you guys are coming in from all over the world telling me how sad you are. And some of you have lost. Thank you. Laura, Gary, Gulf Coast Girl. Look at you guys. Virginia, you guys are just so amazing that you have just given me some support through this horrible, horrible thing. My friend, she had a pre-leukemia condition. Trouble, you can't see. Oh no, and the connection is lost. Uh-oh, I may have to log back in here in a second. I'll try that in a minute. Keep trying, guys. Periscope has been having some real stability issues. I've been having problems with other people's scopes, so keep trying. Anyway, I'm doing a little bit of an appreciation scope right at the moment, and I'll get into the space weather stuff in just a second. Because there's just been so many of you. Barry, Steve, Charlotte, Andrew, David, Carolyn, Lynn, Gareth, Miranda, Ed, DL Sent, thank you. Thanks, Full Corpse, Tom, Paula, Richard, all of you guys, Keith, Lewis, another Richard, Craig, Yasmin, Nebby, Ray, all of you guys, look at you, just on and on and on. Abaris, Donald, Debs, Ian, another Tammy, Noose, Betty O, Mark, Fiona, Dennis, Stan, Richard, Joe, RJ, Chaz, I Want a Cookie. I mean, all of you guys, you've just been so amazing. And I just have to say thank you so much for all of the outpouring of support. My friend had a precancerous condition. It was a pre-leukemia called MDS, and she was in the middle of getting a bone marrow transplant with stem cells. And it's usually a pretty good procedure, and it just did not work. So thank you again for all of this. Yeah, she had complications right from the start and lost her battle very quickly. So we're all kind of in shock. And yes, if you wonder why I look a little puffy, like I've been crying a lot, that's exactly why. So thank you again for all the support. Thank you for the hearts. Thank you for the love. It really does help at a really horrible time like this. So thank you, Barry, for the hugs. I appreciate it. So at least, moving on, at least I have a wonderful thing to happen on the sun. We have this gorgeous, gorgeous eruption that occurred here. It's actually a twisted filament. There's actually two of them. There's one here and this one, and it lets off. Look at that. 1, 2. It's just beautiful ribbons. I've kind of blown up the sun, so hopefully you can see this. Thank you, Charlene. I appreciate that very much. Yeah, and forgive my voice if it seems a little shaky. I'm still a little racked here. But I'm trying to still help out, guys, because we got this gorgeous thing. So here's the first filament lifts off. You can see that there were like these scars of a ribbon that lift off. And then down below, there was a second filament. And believe it or not, those two filament structures have already filled back in. They've already continued they're going to be erupting again, probably on the backside. But I'll show it to you again. Here we go. It's this twisted filament. It erupts mainly from this region and up in here. And then a second one lifts off back there. It's a 1-2 punch. It's just on the hairy edge of the Earth strike zone. So we do expect to see something, and I'll also point out this really interesting feature. This is a coronal hole, but if you notice when this thing erupts, it opens up more of this coronal hole. See that? Look Look how much larger that coronal hole got. So what that means now is that when this thing ripped off of the sun, it actually took some of the sun's closed magnetic field. The sun was kind of keeping its kind of closed, locked field in, and then it opens it up. And when it opens it up like this, what ends up happening is that now you can have fast wind blowing out from a place that it wasn't blowing out before. So when this eruption occurs, you have the eruption come, and then right behind it and with it comes this really fast wind. And so now you're going to have an enhanced wind right behind this thing. So it's going to be kind of being pushed by this fast wind, and it's probably going to hit us, I would think, reasonably hard, despite the fact that it's a glancing blow, and I'll get to that in just a second. It looks like Periscope survived, because I see the count going up, so thank you, and I see hearts now. So thank you guys for sticking on, and I hope the connection in the beginning wasn't too frustrating. Okay, so we got, hopefully you got that. So what I'm going to show you here, just to kind of, I'll show it one more time, because here's this, and I'll show that this second one. I didn't get to focus on this little second filament here. So if you see this first one, it goes off right about, come on now, ready? Bam, right there, and then boom, right there. There's the second one. And that second one actually traveled kind of down in here. So I'm going to show you Sunviewer. She's a great gal. If you don't follow Sunviewer on Twitter, she's another fantastic person. She's on the other side of the earth from me, so when I go to sleep, she's up doing stuff. So definitely pay attention to her. But she's a great person to follow for stuff in the Netherlands and on that side of the earth. And she's got this animated GIF of the coronagraph. So here's the sun. It's in the middle. This is kind of the sun radius, and then this is an occulting disk to block out the sun's brightness. And you can see there's one eruption, that's early, but then you see a 1-2 punch. Hopefully you can see that. Not that one, that's a slow one, but boom, boom, right there. So those are the two filaments that are coming out. I'll show it one more time. Boom, boom, right there. So those are the two that are coming out. They are coming out south and west of us, but because of that fast wind and because of some of that being connected to the center disk, we do think we're going to get a glancing blow. Let me show that now. This is Enlil. This is NOAA's version of the model. The top panel is density, the bottom panel is velocity, and you can see the solar storm coming out right here. And you see it's moving to the west of us, but it is going to graze us just a smidge on that western side. It'll replay, hopefully. I think it replays. And you guys probably can't see that. I'm going to tilt this up just a smidge. Sorry about the light. It's kind of blocking the time here. But you can see that solar storm. So you're looking down at the sun's north pole here. You're looking down at the sun's north pole. This is a slice. This is north. This is south. This is east and west. So this panel here actually slices right through the sun and the sun-earth line right here. So when you see that, you can see it's moving off to the west, and it's moving mainly off to the south. Now we have this slower lump of stuff here. That is from a bit of a stream that this thing interrupts, and we have some fast wind behind it. So it kind of has a really interesting little double lump here, because we've got this fast wind that's coming behind it. This is velocity now, and you see this is where the impact is, and it jumps up. So we're expecting this to be about 600 kilometers a second or more impact, even though it's a grazing passage. So despite the fact that it's going to be going mostly west and south of us, there's still a very good chance that it's going to hit us and give us some especially combined with the fast wind here and the density enhancement in front of it, it's going to give us a pretty nice impact starting later today with the fast wind stuff, and then the impact of the actual storm should be hitting somewhere about mid on the 18th. And that's like UK time. That's Zulu time. That's UTC. Hit where? It's going to hit Earth. It's going to hit, so it'll be a global effect. And what that means is that we're going to get a good chance for aurora. If you happen to be an amateur radio operator, you're probably going to have issues with the bands degrading, probably slowly at first. But then by the middle of the 18th, the noise floors will probably have raised quite a bit. It all depends. If the field is oriented the right way, we will get gorgeous aurora. We could get it down even as far as mid-latitudes. And what that means is, let's say, I'm not sure it's going to be able to hit as far south as the Netherlands and the UK, but definitely northern UK, Liverpool, that area. And then in the United States, it could hit as far south as Iowa, maybe Colorado, just certain places, definitely Wisconsin. Yes, you could have GPS problems, especially at high latitudes. So if you happen to be a taxi driver or someone who relies on GPS, especially with your cell phone or a Garmin or something like that, that works on the civil frequencies, which is only one frequency. You can have impacts with GPS. If you are anywhere near Aurora, you will have impacts with your GPS because Aurora screws up the GPS signals like nobody's business. So yes, drone operators, yes. So if you are at high latitudes, you could definitely see issues. Even if you're at low latitudes, yes, I'll get to that question in a second. Even at low latitudes, right when the storm hits, it can cause a big, strong impulse. So even if you happen to be like I know drone racing in Hawaii is a big deal. So you could even have issues with GPS at that time for a short period, probably maybe 10 or 15 minutes at most. But right when the storm hits, and then everything will be fine. But at high latitudes, you could continue to have issues. And yes, to answer the one question, it says, does it seem like it's unusually busy, having a lot of problems with the HF radio? Yes, we have been absolutely very busy because we keep getting solar storms like this, plus fast solar wind. And that's very typical for this part of our solar cycle. We call it the declining phase. And in the declining phase, you get a lot of stuff like this. If I can find my mouse. You get a lot of things like coronal holes that come down really close to mid-latitudes. Things are beginning to reorganize on the sun. So you get these really well-defined coronal holes that bring you fast wind, and they can cause geomagnetic storms. Plus, you still get a lot of the solar storms that are coming. I didn't know that. The solar storms are usually, are very, very active during solar maximum, but because we're beginning to come down from solar maximum, we don't see quite as many, but we still see them. Couple that with a lot of coronal holes that bring us fast wind, and you kind of get a double whammy. So believe it or not, the declining phase of the solar cycle can be busier than the solar maximum. Hi from the UK, appreciate that. Okay, makes sense, good. It's the amateur videographers. So is this meaning on drones, like big cinematography type stuff? Again, if you fly during solar storms, if you fly during around the gray line, so during the dawn dusk terminator, that type of thing, if you that could be an issue during solar storms, because that just adds insult to injury, because things are changing a lot during that period anyway. And also, again, at higher latitudes have a tendency to be worse than lower latitudes because the magnetic field there isn't as well protected. It's actually, if you were to map the magnetic field that is at high latitudes, if you were to map that out into space, that's actually the field that's out in the front of the Earth's magnetic shield. So that's the one that gets really rattled. The stuff that's at low latitudes, that's actually tucked away inside the inner portion of the Earth's shield, and it's much more protected, so that's why it doesn't get rattled. So I've had issues in the past. It wanders off like a drunk stumbling home. Okay, that's great. I love that imagery. I gotta make sure I use that. That's fantastic. Yes, and that is exactly what happens. It starts getting, you can have, just like in your Garmin, what happens is that you get scintillation, and just like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, if you've ever looked at a star and see it twinkle like that, that's the visible light getting scintillated. It's kind of getting scattered in all sorts of different directions. Well, that's exactly what happens to your GPS signal. So you can imagine suddenly from a GPS signal that's completely straight and narrow and perfect to something that's going so it's thinking that the satellite is moving around in the sky. So then your drone will start doing exactly the same thing, and that happens very frequently under aurora. It also happens when the upper atmosphere is got a lot of changes really, really quickly, which happens again during solar storms and also during solar flares. So that's something to be aware of. Okay, so I showed that. I showed this. We've got an idea of the model. Let me show you the KP index right now. This is a stoplight chart, kind of yellow, red, yellow, green. You can see right now we're kind of sitting at green levels. We did have a little bit of a fast wind not too long ago. Maybe it might have been the wake of a solar storm that just barely missed us, that Halo CME forecasted just, a few days ago. And we did get some really good aurora very, very briefly, but it has since died down. If you're an amateur radio operator, the bands might have been a little bit noisy, but you are getting a little bit of a respite now, hopefully. Here's a picture of some of the gorgeous aurora that was seen up at the Yukon. I mean, it was just stunning. So they got coronas overhead as well as beautiful curtains and part of the oval. So we should be calming down from that now, but we will be picking up again as soon as that storm hits. Now let me move on to flares so you guys can get an idea of what's going on in the flare picture. So solar flares, just to distinguish them from solar storms, solar flares happen from active regions. As you can see, we don't have a lot of really bright active regions on the sun right now. It's kind of dim. And solar flares don't cause aurora. Solar flares cause problems for amateur radio, and they cause problems for GPS mainly. And the reasons for this is that and it's only on the day side. So if you can see the sun, you can be affected by solar flares. And they will cause radio communications blackouts. And really big ones cause the FAA sometimes to reroute their flights because they can't communicate to their planes. But those are really big flares, and we're nowhere near seeing any of those right now. We're very, very quiet right now. We've got a couple little active regions that are trying to stumble and stagger, but really it's pretty quiet. So when we go to our flare outlook here, as you can see, I'll just zoom into this one. Here is our time series for flares. This is from essentially the 15th to the 18th. Here is the M flare threat level. Anything above this level is where we would actually have issues with radio communications and things like that. As you can see, we are well below the M flare threat level. This is almost 2 orders of magnitude lower, so we're 100 times lower. So right now it's very, very flare quiet. We're getting a few pops here and there from region, I think it's 2454, but we're really not seeing much. So everything is pretty quiet right now. And that should continue into the near future. I'll go ahead and put up my 5-day forecast. For those of you, I will also be posting this on Twitter and on Facebook here soon, and I do believe this will be on spaceweather.tv if it isn't already. So for solar storm conditions, we are expecting that solar storm, as I mentioned, that's coupled with that fast wind. Yeah, SWPC, that's where you can get that information. Yes, the flare information, also the NLO, the model prediction. You can't get these 5 days there because these are mine, but you can get a 3-day. So this official 3-day you can get at SWPC. Okay, so we are expecting that solar storm to hit us here in the next day or so, and NOAA is expecting active conditions today at high latitudes. That's about 60 degrees north and south latitude. But we are expecting, starting around the 18th and the 19th, we are expecting minor storm conditions with about a 40% chance of a major storm. And I missed a comment there. Sorry about that, guys. After that, we should expect to quiet down a little bit, but we will be still in fast winds, so we are still expecting some minor storm conditions to active conditions at high latitudes. At mid latitudes, we're only expecting about a 15% chance of a minor storm on the 18th, with maybe things beginning to settle down after that, and probably maybe into the 20th, things will begin to really settle down, and hopefully the amateur radio bands will improve after that. If I switch to, if I can get my mouse here, let me switch to flare conditions, and you can see how incredibly quiet it is. So for flare conditions, we're only expecting, actually I should have made this green, I apologize, that's still yellow. We are only expecting a 1% chance of an M-class flare, and that's going to continue over essentially the whole week. 2454 is the only region that's giving us any indication at all that it's thinking about growing. The rest of them are basically snoozing. But we do have enough active regions on the disk to have a decent amount of solar flux, so you amateur radio operators, once this storm goes by, we should still have enough solar flux for propagation. So don't worry about that. It shouldn't be too bad. And we are under no threat for a solar particle radiation storm at this time, so we're all in the clear. Okay, so hopefully that catches you guys up. Let me minimize this again. And I think that's all I had to say. It is. Yep, I went through everything. So I guess right now I'll open it up to questions. I did not get a chance to introduce myself. I started like going straight away into almost crying, so because of my friends. So for those of you, if you happen to be a first timer here, my name is Tamitha Scove. I have a PhD in space plasma physics, and it basically means I'm a space weather woman. I'm a space weather person. During my day job, I help NASA, NOAA, and other agencies. Okay, I'll answer that in a second. I help other agencies, NASA, NOAA, and other government agencies to navigate the space environment and keep their satellites safe and help them design for the future. And then in my off time, I like to share this information with you guys because it is more easily, yes, you're very welcome. Been following on Twitter for a long time. Oh, thank you. Thank you for coming and seeing one of my scopes. It's a little bit rattled today just because I'm kind of upstairs, not 100% there. But because we had such a great chance for a storm here, I wanted to be able to get on Periscope, and I figured you guys would bear with me as I kind of work through my personal tragedies right now. Yes, I like to be able to give you guys information about ham radio and GPS drone operation, and also aurora, because it's so much easier to see aurora than a lot of people think. And in this case, you probably, if you're in the UK, You'll probably be able to see aurora. You're welcome. You'll probably be able to see aurora. You might get a chance to see it as far south as I would think probably Liverpool area, the northern UK definitely. You're welcome. Definitely northern UK. I don't think it's going to make it as far south as the Netherlands. It's just not strong enough. But if it hits us with more force than we anticipate, or it's faster than we anticipate from the model predictions, then yes, it could. And in the United States is a bit more lucky because the aurora cap tilts toward the United States. So that's why we get to see it a lot better in the US and Canada than you do in the UK. Yay, Northumberland. Yes, absolutely. Northumberland, you should be able to see it. I know people who can see aurora with a KP of 3. So in central Alberta, yes, when you get out of the city, you guys just, you have some of the most amazing aurora pictures in Alberta. Anybody who happens to be in the United States and doesn't and feels that they need to go to Alaska to see the aurora, no, just take a trip to Canada and even just South Canada, even Saskatchewan, Regina area. There's just amazing aurora up there. And even Michigan. I have some friends that are in Michigan and they get to see it all the time. So at any rate, so yes, in the United States, we might be able to see it down as far south as like Iowa. Definitely can see it in Tasmania for those of you in the south. I don't think it's going to make Australia this time, though. But definitely Tasmania and New Zealand. House swap to Alberta, please. Yeah, that's what we should start on Twitter, is see if anybody wants to do any time-sharing. People from places that are, nice and far south that are, maybe tropical climates or something, might want to switch with somebody who's in Canada or Northumberland or something like that for a short time. And so people get a chance to see aurora. It's very funny. I've actually got my boss is actually traveling next week to Iceland with his wife, and so he's got me on speed dial, so because he wants to know when the aurora is going to be here. And I keep telling him that it's not looking good next week, so I'm a little bit nervous about that. I wonder if he's going to, get me in trouble, being my boss, if I can't generate aurora for him. So, oh, please, son, help me, Anyway, so any other questions, guys? If not, if I missed your question, please go ahead and tweet me on Twitter or email me at spaceweatherwoman@gmail. I will get to your questions. I've been awfully slow recently just because of all the tragedy that I've dealt with, but I will get to your questions, I promise. So thank you guys so much for joining. You're very welcome. Thank you guys so much. And again, your support means so much to me, and you've really helped me through this thus far. And I wouldn't be I wouldn't be doing this Periscope today if it weren't for all your support, you guys. I really appreciate. So, okay, guys, thanks so much, and I'll see you soon. Take care.